Part of storm preparation is making sure your insurance policies are in place, and keep in mind most companies have a waiting period before coverage takes place. In other words, if there's a named storm in the Gulf heading our way and you just got a policy, don't count on it. But what can you do if you had a valid policy in place but the insurance company is denying your claim? Hand it over to our next guest. They can see through the cloudy details and clear the way for you to finally get the coverage you deserve. Michael Barcus and Aaron Arenas are with Barcus Arenas Law, and they don't win unless you do. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
You two are childhood friends, grew up in the Bear Creek area, so you're familiar with Houston weather for sure.
Yeah, we both grew up in Bear Creek out at Highway 6 in Clay. We've known each other since we were 9 years old. We had to live through Harvey and a lot of the events that have happened that kind of shaped why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, okay, so speaking of the decision to go to law school, law is very big as we know. What was behind you deciding to go into this part of law?
Yeah, I mean, just growing up here, I know when Harvey hit and living in Bear Creek, there were a lot of very emotional moments for me with my parents and childhood homes where we had to go through the wreckage and throw away old family photos. And my parents didn't have insurance to help with that process.
All right.
And they had a struggle to get back on their feet and back to where they were before.
Yeah.
So.
Aaron?
Yeah, similar for me. You know, obviously growing up in Bear Creek, it was a catastrophe area, so to speak, and so that kind of guided us towards being advocates for people that, you know, need a voice when their insurance company is saying one thing and they are thinking another.
Yeah. All right. Let's start with what we need to do on our end first. You know, as I mentioned in the introduction there, how many times have I heard people say when they hear a storm is coming, they go, "Ooh, do we have insurance? Let's go get insurance." Well, it's too late then. But on the front end, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that we have everything in place?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is understanding the policy that you have, understanding what it covers, what it doesn't cover, getting an idea of if something happens, you know, what you need to take care of. The other thing is just properly document things around your home. I mean, pictures of what your house looks like before a storm can be very helpful. You know, if an insurance company comes in and says, well, that was there before, or that was wear and tear.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two most important things.
And there was another issue I remember last year. People like, here's the picture of the tree in our roof, and then it came back. That roof doesn't look like it was maintained before the storm, so we're not paying.
Yeah, that was a frequent issue. I think that, you know, taking photographs, you know, I've told clients, just take your iPhone and walk around your house on video just once a year. And you can capture everything inside. You can capture the walls, the ceiling, because the insurance company is going to take a look, and they're going to look through every corner of the policy to figure out where can they make some cuts.
Yeah, it's also understanding insurance. I remember when I first moved here, I moved down from New York City, and I got insurance on my home, and I remember my insurance agent did say to me, he goes, okay, now you need rising water. I go, what's rising water? It doesn't flood. He goes, in case you flood. I go, well, isn't that flood insurance? And so that's another thing that's very confusing for people. So let's kind of go through the difference between rising water and flood.
Yeah, so most of your typical insurance policies won't cover flood. That's through a separate policy issued by FEMA. So like the Harvey event, when your house flooded, that probably wouldn't be through your insurance policy.
That's water from the ground up, right?
Yeah, because that's called surface water, rising water. Your policy may cover if you have like a pipe burst inside your home and then you flood that way with internal water.
Or the tree falls in the roof, makes a big hole, and the water comes down?
Yep, exactly. And that it creates a storm-created opening, and then the water that comes down, you could get covered for water damage that way.
And that's how detailed things could get, because all kinds of things could happen and what people need to pay attention to. The other thing that we heard a lot of people say they got denied on was they said, oh, that's wind damage. Now, is that a separate policy, or do you have to make sure it's covered in your policy?
Yeah, I mean, depending on, you know, where you live, there's different options for wind insurance. So if you live along the coast of Texas, you're going to have one insurance company basically for wind insurance. But yeah, I mean, differentiating the damage for wind versus flood, you know, those are things that insurance companies are going to look to see whether or not they're going to pay out.
Yeah. All right, we have some questions from some folks. Martha says, the insurance company says my damage isn't covered. Then what good was my policy? What options do I have? May I introduce you to?
Yeah, I mean, I think at that point is when you probably want to get an attorney involved. If they're saying that you don't have coverage, you think you do, you probably need a professional to look through your policy, look through the reasons for the denial, give you some advocacy, give you some information on what you can do next and what your options are.
Yeah, all right. Glenn says, the insurance company gave me a number, but it feels way too low. Can I push back with my own repair estimates?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's actually encouraged, is to go get multiple bids from a contractor or whoever, and then you kind of give that to your insurance company, and they'll, you know, say sure, or they'll say no, we don't like this bid, get another one. But yeah, if you're not getting the answer that you need, you've got to start pushing back.
Yeah, okay. Robert says, we couldn't wait. We had to start fixing the damage, but now I'm wondering, is it too late to file a claim? If you already start to fix things, that goes back to probably what you're saying, document, having at least the pictures. But should you touch anything before the insurance company has a chance to get out there and take a look?
Ideally, no. Ideally, you want the insurance company to come out there, look at it first, so they don't have a excuse or a reason in the back end to try to deny it for, you know, not being able to see. Sometimes it happens, you know, like you said, you were going to want to take photographs, you're going to want to document everything before. But yeah, in the best case scenario, you let the insurance company know right away and then kind of go from there with the repairs and everything.
I think something that most people are afraid of is, well, if I file a claim, my rates are going to increase. And that's a common fear that I think the rates are going to increase every year no matter what, because of the weather's getting worse and, you know, things are getting more expensive. If you have a claim and you make repairs and you're kind of worried, do I need to file it? Do I not need to file it? You should err on the side of just filing it.
Yeah.
And if it's, you know, below your deductible or something, that's better than waiting too long and then not having coverage because you waited too long.
Yeah, a lot of people will call and have a phone conversation.
Yes.
The problem with that is you say, but you said, and they're like, no, we didn't. So try to keep a lot of that stuff, emails, for example. That way you have a track record, and then you can print those and bring them into you so you can see what that conversation has been.
Yes, keep it in writing as much as possible with the adjusters so that there's no confusion later on. Here it is, here's an email, you said we were covered and now you're saying we're not.
Yeah.
That makes our job easier, because then it's like, come on, guys.
Some people also may hesitate. They already have their back against the wall. They've got the damage, and they're looking at what's going to cost to repair that. So they'll think, I can't afford to hire an attorney. But you will look at this case to see if it's something that's viable, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we do everything on what's called a contingency basis. So if we help and we're able to help and increase the value of the claim, we would take a percentage of that. And if we're not, if we can't, we'll be honest from the get-go. Hey, we probably can't help here. And we wouldn't charge you anything for that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, all of our fees are, you know, there's no cost to our clients. So we know that the average homeowner in Houston right now is probably struggling like the rest of us with this economy. And so, you know, we give them options to say, look, there's no upfront cost to you. If we're taking your case, we think we can get you something.
Struggling with this economy, but struggling from still repairing from that last derecho, the last barrel, and everything else.
That too,
right?
I feel like it's just one after another. So,
at least,
you know,
make sure you get what you deserve.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. If your insurance claim was denied, delayed, or underpaid, don't wait. Call Barcus Arenas PLLC today for a free claim review. Here's the number. It's right there on your screen, 800-941-1041. Again, that's 800-941-1041. You can also visit them online at barcusarenas.law.